Welcome guys to the Pax Europiana Sunset Talk here in Durres. This is very beautiful here and I'm very happy to be here spending my holidays, but also to confess my love to Albania because it was a great discovery for me. I was here in 98 during the big crisis, again in 2002, 2006 for private trips. No, 2002 was with SME Union, I remember, with Mrs. Park. It was very cool. With Mr. Polo we went to Elbasan. 2006 was private, and then 2008 I got this opportunity to work here, and then I worked 6 happy years here in various positions for working for the private sector, for Austrian investor, and then for this Austrian energy system investments. That was really very interesting. Then I worked also for some public contracts for the donor community, for some economic strategy. That was really fascinating and I loved it. We started also this Austrian society in Albania, ASA, in 2011 with my French pay team. It was really spectacular and I loved it, and I love it still. You know, Albania is a very special country for us Austrians. The sea, the sun, everything. It's quite amazing and I really love it, and it's a beautiful country. And we have these historic links, of course, since 1912. And when you go deeper and you discuss all these things and you learn about history, it's a huge kind of historic obligation to help Albania to develop, to join also the European Union. And that's what I really believe in and what I strongly believe in, actually. And I'm now back just for holidays after this amazing trip to Montenegro and then Macedonia, Kosovo here, to spend some time to work and to enjoy as well, and to see some of my friends, and then also to continue my Pax Europiana podcast channel. Please also subscribe the podcast channel and also the YouTube channel, and to show you some of these amazing sunsets and this beautiful scenery. I hope you liked some of the videos I showed you about here. On the top of the hill there's the castle of King Soko. You cannot see it from here, it's on the other side. This was basically the landmark. And then obviously in the evening I do these talks about specific topics. Yesterday about the Balkan Benelux very much, and about the situation with Kosovo and Albania. Today I will talk about the economic situation and my economic reform proposals. I think I have some credibility. I worked on investment promotion for 3 years. Here I know all the big investors of these countries. I have worked on that, and I have also worked publicly on that one for making analysis and discussing things, have engaged in the public debates in 2010 to 2013. Obviously I was now some years out of the country, in Kosovo from 2014 and then in 2016 in Ukraine. So it's the first time for me back for a longer period, actually back for at all for since 2017, and a longer period since I think 2016, yes, since I left from Kosovo. There in Kosovo I was still active here a bit in 2014, but I have already, you know, you can say I don't know the situation very good. Some people on YouTube say it, but I will give you here an overview about the economic things which I think are important from European perspective, and which are going wrong and which are going good, some of them, and I will start systematically. And I have the sunset. I will stop when the sun sets. Yeah, you will see it. Obviously, I give you from time to time some, you know, here the mountains of Durres, beautifully. You see as well here and this tourism area in the north of Durres where I'm booked here, and it's very beautiful, the sunset, and I really love it. And then I will use this opportunity. I see some guys are listening. I understand economics is for some people a bit boring. They like more politics or history or culture. I like economics is the key for everything. I believe very much in, I'm not a Marxist, don't get me wrong, but I think economics is really very important. So take a time, take something to drink. I will also take a beautiful beer, a pears, Gisua. And I will tell you everything I think about the Albanian economy, what needs to be done, what has not been done, and why we have to improve some things. First of all, It's obviously the currency. That's not a surprise for you. By the way, it's time for the euro. It's very important to do that, and it's important for many reasons. For anti-corruption reasons, there's huge manipulations in the currency system, possibly if you have your own currency, with inflation, with all the other manipulations in the central bank, in the financial markets. This is very problematic, and so the euro is a cleanup tool for countries. It worked very well in Montenegro. It worked also very good in Kosovo. It's catching up very much because the euro is a firm fundament. The lek is a problematic currency. The management of the lek is problematic. Now we have a bit more stability. Yes, okay. But anyhow, the future is the euro. So ultimately, why wait? It should be done already, and it's now time to do it. It has many other aspects for peace and for Serbia, which are important. I have mentioned them already in the specific videos. But first of all, the currency, the euro, that should be done. It's very important. Let's get going. Second point is obviously taxation. I was strongly involved in the taxation debate in Europe in the 2000s. There was, when I was working in the EPP as a SME union, that was of course the start of the whole movement with, please watch the interview with Mr. Miklos. He is the spiritual father of our European flat tax movement. Albania under Berisha went to 10%. Then came these terrible times when they moved up to 15 corporate and then 23 of income tax. Of course it was a mistake. Of course it led to more informality. Of course it didn't bring more revenues. Of course it has decreased growth. Of course it was a disaster. And of course I was fighting against these changes. And of course Abem Malai, he invited me to the office, the Minister of Finance. He told me to leave the country, more or less, yeah, in very clear terms. Yeah, so I had to leave. Yeah. So there's the situation, but the situation has not really improved economically. More informality. If I look around now, I'm just a bit here now. Okay, I don't say I have seen everything, but what I see already is not so massive improvement, and economic data is also proving me absolutely right. It's time. Good, you can say 15% is the flat tax level for Albania. I think Albania should really turbocharge its development and go to 10% taxation level, as it is already in, you see, Hungary has 9% corporation tax and 15 flat tax for income. So I think if Hungary does that, I think it's really amazing, astonishing that Albania or also Ukraine, they have higher taxation than Hungary, which is in the EU and NATO, in the center of Europe and so on. So guys, it's really back for 10% is the best way, corporate and income. So then let's go systematically to the various topics. Financial markets, yeah. There's now a stock exchange. I was really trying to bring the Austrian stock exchange. Now the stock exchange in Albania is somehow revitalized and it's somehow working. But there is, to my best knowledge, only like bond market, yeah. It's only state debt market, yeah. There is no real companies on that one. Is that true or not? Please correct me. So the situation is, I was really very heavily involved, yeah. How to solve it? You have to privatize some of the big state companies. 49%, like Austrian Verbund has been done, must be going on the stock market in Albania of KEK, or Nakesh it's called here. KEK is the Kosovo company, but state energy company. KESH is the Albanian one. 49% make an IPO, sell it to the people, to the investors, and so kick up the real kind of stock market. There's a lot of big companies now. They should go on the stock market. Serious stock market is absolutely needed for a country like Albania. You have in Montenegro, you have in Macedonia, Kosovo and Albania are the only countries which don't have a real working equity market, and that's something to change. Yeah? If it is already changed, then somebody will tell me, oh Günther, there's a fantastic stock market. You just didn't check, then correct me. I would be most happy to learn that news, but I think it's not. Yeah? So let's come back to the property market and the transparency in the cadastre. I made a specific video on that one as well. Next to financial market and the euro and the stock exchange, I mentioned it, but also the banking market. I saw the fees. Let me just finish the banking market. The fees now. You pay 5 euros as an Austrian with my Austrian bank card. I pay 5 euros to take money, and the exchange rate is shit. I mean, have you heard about the European Consumer Protection for Financial Services? Why not adopt it? Anyhow, there's then also the property market. I made many videos on that one as well. It's like a disaster. Yeah, the transparency in the cadastre. I personally, with my wife, we bought an apartment. It's still not registered in the land cadastre. You know why is that? 10 years later. You know, the property management system Aereo and Velia has promised. Yeah, it's not working. Yeah, you know, everybody has desperate pleas for maintenance fees. I have now got this message from one rich Austrian of mine, a friend of mine. He told me he will invest in Albania. I showed him the video. Okay, I come back in 20 years. Look, this has to be changed, and it's not so complicated. Yeah? It must be done. European, Austrian property style management system is not complicated. Macedonian cadastre is not complicated. It is a very beautiful country. It's amazing opportunities. Much money will come into this country, as it is in Montenegro, which has more or less managed all these tasks. Macedonia has managed all these tasks. You have not managed. I come back 10 years later, you have not managed. What's wrong? So that's property, that's financial market. Then let's go to the labor market. One thing is the opening of the labor market. Okay, the registration for EU foreigners is going very good, I hear. It's very good. You know, that was a big achievement. Also that Kosovo and Albania have opened the labor market, and also under mini Schengen, hopefully to open the labor market very good. You know, that's really an important sector. The flexibility of the labor market, I think, is also going much better. So I don't know. I think that's a market. Albania was always working around the clock. There was never these socialist restrictions like in Ukraine and in Macedonia and in other countries, where this inherited communist system in the labor market was giving a lot of rigidity. Here, actually, it's quite extreme liberalism in this, even too much maybe. And there should be also some decent worker protection, some kind of healthcare coverage, which is worth the name. And this kind of here, actually, a little bit more Austrian style of labor market protection would maybe also give the people more hope that they have as employees also a chance to make a good living and develop the middle class. So that would be something also to improve, and I think it should be. That's for the labor market. Yeah. What else? Yeah. You know, infrastructure. Now I have really worked so much on having decent infrastructure payment system, like the Austrians have it in Asfinag. We incorporate the public companies, and the management is then going up with this public management, and it's much better. You still have not incorporated the highway system in a state ownership in a public company, and that one managing then the extension, the enlargement, the mir and baitias, as you call it, the maintenance and the fee collection. You always give concessions, some dodgy concessions to specific oligarchs. It's a deep problem, because the way to do it is take the highway, incorporate it in a company. This company then manages it like a private asset, but in the name of the state. Yeah. So that is what Asfinag does it. Also the debt incorporate there, the asset incorporate and the management, then make a vignette and only the tunnel to pay. Every highway usage then in the year, maybe 25 euros. You can buy it at the border. Everybody has to have it who is driving on the highway system. And then also for the tunnel, €5, absolutely fine. But that must be then used in the company and not in any other means. So infrastructure payment system, that's really so important, because that's the biggest investment, and there was not a lot happening, unfortunately. On highways, I have criticized already in the 8 years. I mean, Berisha did about 10 times more highway kilometer than Rama in the same period of 8 years. You can easily compare it. He did 2 major tunnels. He did also this highway to Kosovo, the highway to the north, at least about 20 kilometers. The Elbasan highway, okay, was not finished. But the FIA highway, you know, it was of course never on real European standards, but it was going fast and good. Now it's also not on European standard, but it was only the bits and pieces which were missing were done, but no major extension to my best knowledge. Not to Elbasan, not to the north. In Kosovo there was some of the bridges done, but in the south I have not been. There's the bypass of Flora, but that's not a highway. It's an important infrastructure project, but it's one city bypass in 8 years. It's certainly not really impressive. On railways, to my best knowledge, nothing. On any other, on the energy, of course, Kosovo and Albania and Macedonia are now united with 400K lines. At least the Kosovo line I know. Macedonia was also discussed. I think it's ready. I don't know for sure. So, I'm not 100% always on top of each infrastructure project, but in principle, it's really not a lot what happened in 8 years. Yeah. Coming to the tourism market, this is of course very important next to the property market. You see, obviously, the beaches are very beautiful. I really love it. I give you another glimpse of these amazing beaches, yeah, down there, the sun. You have to inherit it, this amazing infrastructure of our tourism. But I can tell you, still, I'm going now to the beach in the evening just to swim a bit. There is no shower, there is no changing facility. Yes, I knew it, so I have rented the apartment very close. But there is, of course, there is now even Serbians and, people from Montenegro, and so they're coming here because it's very cheap, yeah, and it's very beautiful. And they are okay with this kind of facilities. And okay, it's beautiful. You get the beer at the beach. You can sit directly at the beach. In Montenegro, you have to pay quite a lot of money for such a holiday already. And here, obviously, everything is cheap, but also this kind of basic things of hygienic things on the beach, to have a dressing facility, just to not to use only the towel, and also to have something to take a shower, not only the hotel room. I think, man, we are in 2021. It's I think something, if you want to have a lot of German and Austrian tourists, this is something which is also, I think, possible. And they will come because the highway will come one day. Obviously, the Adriatic Highway promised in 2014. You all know it if you listen to my videos. It's a scandal. We have done nothing. Putin builds this highway bridge in less time to Crimea than we doing the Adriatic Highway. I mean, we are a ridiculous bunch currently in this last decade, and we have to get better. And it's not Albania alone to blame on that one, or Rama alone personally. We in Europe have also not done our homework. We have neglected the Balkans, and we have neglected it significantly. To our big shame, we have not been serious with enlargement and with this kind of integration agenda, and the other things, we have not been serious financially, and the Albanians have not seriously tried to improve it into European Albania while it was promised. Yes, okay, we're talking about economics, not politics, but of course, from time to time I give you a glimpse on the sunset. It's really very beautiful here. Okay, I need a little bit, of course, also a break to think what I will say next. And then I will say about competition law, because Europe is very much in the core about competition law. I know that's a bit complicated to understand, and I will explain it very simple. Albania is now a full-scale oligarchy. You have your 6 biggest oligarchs and your 60 major medium oligarchs, the big families, and they run the country. They own most of the assets, and they control the key markets, like retail, like a petrol market, like also that retail is very important, petrol is very important. Yes, where else? There's a little bit of competition then coming in with international chains like Spar, yes, yeah, but obviously they are also often operated in coordination with some of the big oligarchs, absolutely. And so then you have this electronics, of course, consumer products. Then you have some other markets, obviously, like I have said petrol already, not to repeat it too much. But what is the thing? I explain it. When you're not really having a competition regulation and the enforcement, obviously the very few get very rich, and the rest of the companies, they can just be like supplier, subcontractor if they're lucky, but they have no real basis to compete. Yeah? So then these middle class families, they have to close their business and immigrate to the European Union, because we have competition regulation. It's far from perfect, but it's very important. SME policy is very much about competition regulation. So this is obviously then in all these countries the problem, because the Prime Minister appoints the head of the competition authority, so he does nothing, the person there, because he could touch the oligarchs. The oligarchs don't want competition, and they don't want competition regulation enforcement. So it's basically just a paper exercise to fulfill what the Commission wants, the EU Commission, and then you don't do anything with it. And the people obviously knew they shouldn't approve certain transactions, or they should break up monopolies, but obviously they don't do it because the Prime Minister has appointed a guy to sit still in his office and be silent. Yeah? So ultimately I call, since quite a long time now, since 2014 I had this first proposal that we build a European competition area which is including then Ukraine, 2016 was the point when I appointed, and the whole Balkans, so that we are one European competition area where really also EU competition law is implemented outside of the European Union, because it is the only way to have European level enforcement. That's the only way. We see also in Malta, in Slovakia, we have a major problem that we allow the local things to be done locally, and only cross-border and major things are done by the DG Commission, the competition. That's a real problem. We have to really enforce European-wide, like in the United States, yeah. And it must be done, and we must have more powerful competition rules in order to release the potential of the market. And then obviously you have also some sector markets which are important. Albania has developed a quite good IT industry, but we are very far from the Estonia at the Adriatic. We are really very far in the property register. In many other aspects, there is now a digital Albania in some aspects. Things have improved, yes. But when you see how good the situation is in Macedonia, and when you especially see how good the situation is already in Serbia, it's really the administration reform, major defeat, and also all these things, they have a big impact then also on the reality of doing business. In Transparency International, Albania is still above 100. That's quite a bad ranking for a EU candidate country. And also in the issues of digital procurement, no good. Yeah. In the issues, it's so important. I already called to get the Ukrainians guys in. They really know how to do digital procurement. They are really very good with the Prosoro. But here, you know, this was one of the big success stories, digital procurement in 2008 already, and then it all has been, you know, avash and fading away. The whole dynamic of governance has faded away in 8 years of Edi Rama, who started as an anti-corruption campaigner and has promised so much with websites for anti-corruption and to clean up government, but ultimately it is a very limited progress. Also in doing business, some very moderate reforms only, and progress has been achieved compared to what is possible in Georgia or in Macedonia. I think Albania is a disappointment in the last decade. That's also problematic for the strategy I propose to have Montenegro, Macedonia and Albania together in the European Union, because that would be obviously much better. All three countries, it must strategically, they are a great fit, and it is also politically very good, but then you have also a lot of issues in Albania which are settled in Macedonia and Montenegro, which here for the last decade nothing was happening. And then of course my argument of all three into is a little bit hampered, why they say, oh, is Albania ready? And then your very modest rule of law reform, yeah, which was starting very big, but the implementation is very difficult, so it's not really so grandiose. Yeah. But let's talk about economics, obviously. Rule of law is a different topic, and that's of course very much affecting the investment climate. And when you see the big investors here, because Albania has also really significant natural resources. It has the big chrome mines, the petrol industry in the south, it has petrol reserves itself. It has also now this pipeline tap, where the expectations was so big. So there is gas, the domestic oil here, there is gas from Azerbaijan here. There's all the ingredients for big industrial development, because there is also these mineral resources of significance in Albania in the north. So there's many reasons why this could be a really well-working industrial location, also with the amazing potential of the logistics, with the harbors, with the railways. But we are now talking about fantasy things, because the railways are not invested, and the harbor now will be a luxury thing, and there will be maybe a new one. But you know, when I talk, what we had some visions about industrial Albania 10 years ago, it's a lot of visions, yeah. But the reality, I cannot see any big investor in the last 10 years coming to Albania. Not anything new of significance. All the things like the big the Voli power plant, the Verbund in Ashta, the TAP, this was all here already. No big Italian company, to my knowledge, has come, and the one in the south in the Viosa is a corruptive enterprise of mafia personality. And it's very problematic, this Beceti project in Vjosa, making a bad reputation for hydropower. The Turks have, to my best knowledge, done about nothing. Yes, I don't know, maybe some retail things and some shopping malls. That's always a possibility, maybe it's happening. But to my best knowledge, nothing. So this whole big thing, when Rama announced the time of the Austrians is over, he will bring the Italians and the Turks. And what was his name? Ahmetai, yeah. Maybe I made a mistake, it was Ahmetai was the guy, the Minister of Finance, who sent me out, yeah. This was very bad. Anyhow, because Aben Mala is a good guy, he is the Austrian consul in the south. From time to time I mix up the names, so to be very clear, Ahmetai bad, Mala good. I think I'm very clear here on this one, because we really have to see, it depends on personalities. If they are greedy, if they are with both hands in the pockets in order to get rich quick, then obviously the country is going down. If they are ready for real development and hard work in order to get it done, then of course countries develop. And you see the difference in Montenegro and in Macedonia, and also Kosovo is now much more developed already in many aspects institutionally than Albania. Sad story. Let's come to the business-friendly certificate, my favorite topic. Most Balkans does it. Kosovo and Albania are not in that system, so they don't have, when you go to a municipality, nowhere is a certificate business-friendly as a stamp. This is a very good program of the German government in whole Southeastern Europe. I also promoted it to have it in Ukraine. It was not, it was rejected, but also in Albania and Kosovo it should be done. It's very good. The digitalization of construction permit, very good to reduce the corruption level at the giving of construction permits, which is so important and so big. Then also this licensing for more companies with their business licenses, the municipality. This is wonderful to do it. It makes business for SMEs much easier, and so on and so on. That's also not so happening. And then all these issues about regional economic integration, to build a bigger market together with Kosovo, to be in the customs union, to be in with Macedonia and with Montenegro in the customs union. We're talking now a decade about it. I'm talking a decade about it, but it's really little progress. And now we have this big fight between REA, mini Schengen and everything. I call for the customs union of Southern Balkans without Serbia and Bosnia, and also for the currency in Albania and in Macedonia to be the euro, and also then to lift the borders. Borders, of course, will not be changed, but you can technically lift it like we do it in the EU customs union, in the EU Schengen project. Yeah? We don't have a border, a physical border between Austria and Germany or Austria and Hungary. We still have the installation somewhere, but we from time to time put the people there to check extra for if there's a crisis or other emergency. Too much actually for me. But open borders, it was normal between Montenegro and Macedonia and Kosovo. Anyhow, they were part of Yugoslavia, and between Albania and Yugoslavia it was of course almost no transport logistics, a complete disaster. So to integrate these four countries with free movement of people, with free movement of goods, with open borders, with a real Schengen, not a mini Schengen, but a real Schengen, where you have an internal market. Yeah, that would be good. You know, you can work and reside everywhere without having a big work permit and residence permit process. They have done some progress now, but of course that would be very good. Yeah, but that can also happen with Serbia and then with Bosnia once they have recognized. Yeah? So that's very important. Recognize Kosovo, obviously. So that's very important also for the economics. Yeah? What else on economics? Of course, you know, I talked about tourism, IT sector. Here's a lot of things to be done, and it will be much better. There's also manufacturing. Manufacturing industry can be also very good here. This will be beautiful as well to do things here because of the issue of lower wage costs, and obviously also a lot of minerals here, especially the cement industry, the construction material industry has a huge potential. You know, this is all basically construction material in the waiting. Of course, you know, we cannot take all the hills, yeah, you have to be careful, but and also sensitive, sustainable, but there's a lot of hills which are perfect for cement for the European and the global market in Albania, and this is a great opportunity. Obviously must be done sustainable, but let's do it decently and do it well. And also this will be bringing a lot of jobs, and you need the jobs here. You know, if we can continue like this, It will be just a summer location where people will come to enjoy for 2 months in the summer. All the people who